let's see, chicken pot pie, half a cup of chopped yellow onions. So my son got me a really nice knife from Japan, and it cuts really nice. That was a couple of years ago, but now I'm finally using it. Fine as we can here, so we can kind of get too big of chunks in our chicken pot pie. I thought, well, if nobody comes, I'll just do it by myself. I've done that before.
Well, that's what I said. I said, okay, Dave, I don't have the link. Should I just go ahead and cook the stuff anyway or get started? And maybe she'll send. He goes, well, you already have the time set aside. You might as well do it.
Exactly. Okay, so there's half a cup. So that was just a medium onion. I kind of showed it to the beginning or whatever. So half of a medium onion is enough for the chicken pot pie. And then now I'm going to take the garlic clove, and I just bought a new one, so they're kind of all together. So I'm going to put that onion over there for the soup. And I also have the celery here, so. You might need to turn your pot down if you want to burn your onion or anything either, so. And it's okay here. I have been washing in between the cutting boards when I'm cutting the onion and the garlic here because I'm not putting anything on here that I'm going to keep. I'm just going to use the clove that I'm using. And so I might wash it before I put the celery on there because I'm going to use some of the celery in the other pot or the soup. And I'm just going to mince this with my knife, this garlic, because at this house in Manitoba, I don't have all of the gadgets that I have in Alberta, so I just use whatever I happen to have on hand.
How many cloves do we need?
Just one. So you can see I'm just cutting it up really, really fine. Kind of chop it afterwards because it's kind of supposed to be minced. If you have a mincer, you can use your mincer. It takes the skin off, which I think is part of the flavor of the garlic, but that's how most cooking shows do it. They use a mincer. I'm not sure why. Like I said, I like keeping whatever on there because I figure it's got the goodness in it. So there's my one garlic clove minced up. I'm just going to put it directly in there too. Now I'm going to wash my cutting board because I'm going to put the celery on there that I'm going to use in a different recipe, and I just make sure that it's all minced up. And then I can use it for the celery. Keep the hardcore celery off there if there's something that's been exposed to. And then let's see how much celery do we add to it? Half a cup of chopped celery, same as the onion. So you're just going to chop it really fine as well. So as thin as you can get it with your knife. And that's probably about half a cup. So then I'm going to do the rest for my soup. So here's the celery. So now we got the garlic, the onion, and the celery in there. So now we might want to stir it. I couldn't even find a wooden spoon at my house here in Manitoba. So I'm using this thing. It's kind of actually for stirring oatmeal. I got it in Scotland, and they said they use it for stirring and making oatmeal. we're supposed to stir it for about 7 or 8 minutes, or keep it sauteed for 7 or 8 minutes. So if you want, you can time it. Okay, well, I'm going to chop up the celery for the chicken noodle soup, because that takes 1 cup of celery. So I'll have a little bit more. So I'll just do that while I'm waiting for you, where we're waiting. And then I'm waiting for this other stuff to saute anyways. So I want it to saute before I start adding the liquid ingredients and the chicken. So and if you wanted, did you make a few more tart shells there for the chicken pot pie? Did you make more than 10?
I have 10 right now. Yeah.
Okay. Because what did I say I've got 17, so I need to make a little bit more anyways. Okay, so I've got 1 cup of celery. I could put that in here because I think that's where my soup's going to be. I think we've got a cup of yellow onion in the... It's pretty good. Like I said, if you put a cup of celery, it's usually a cup of onion too. So it's easy to keep track of what you're doing. So I phoned into, or I didn't phone, I went on the internet last night because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get across the border to do anything in the US with these courses, because so far they've got restrictions so that if it's non-essential travel, then you're not allowed to go across the border, flying or whatever. So I might have to phone and find out, like, if I've got an event planned that's already in the works, if that's an essential thing, you could, or I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to the soup part, and then I'll saute those vegetables first too. So I'm going to put that on. Okay, the milk, butter, onion, garlic, celery, and butter. Okay. Stir in flour until blended. 4 teaspoons of flour. 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to add this out and stir it up and blend it in. And that looks like this once it's stirred in. And then I'm going to take it off the heat for a few minutes just so that I get the milk in. Otherwise, it's going to burn. Now you're going to put the 1 cup of milk in. Who does that? Some people, I said, like my husband, he's not used to buying milk. And so he opens it the wrong way this morning. Like, who does that? There's arrows on there. We had our 45th wedding anniversary yesterday, and it was one of those days where you probably should have had it the day before. We were not on the same wavelength. Well, I didn't even actually see him all day until evening, so it worked out okay, I guess. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme leaves. There we go. And then we're going to need the salt and pepper. So we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And this is the Himalayan sea pink salt that I use because it's got all the minerals and everything in it as well. Some people just use it as a finishing salt, but I like to use it in my recipes too. And I usually don't buy the other kind of salt. This is the only salt I usually use. And I think it's 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And then 1.5 cups of cooked chicken. So I'm going to wash my cutting board again. I guess it would work if you had more than one cutting board, but I don't, and I just... Now I'm going to use all this chicken today anyways, because I had already taken it off of the bone, so it's already to be chopped up for the recipe. 1.5 cups of chicken in the chicken pot pie. Okay. There we go. That's better. So I've got a cup. So I'm going to put that in here. And then 1/2 cup. Yeah, so then we just need the vegetables and a small potato. Okay, now I'm going to chop the bottom off of there because that was the part that was touching the cutting board. So now I'm just going to wash the cutting board again. Okay. So I'm just cutting this potato really, really fine because I thought we're running out of cooking time at the moment. So if I cut it quite fine, then it should be cooked kind of a slight flavor of potato. You're not adding potato? Okay, that's okay. Like whatever you want, that's good. This is your pie. You're at your house, so you need to do what you need to do. Okay, just put a lid on that. I'm going to add a little bit more milk to mine. For some reason, it's really, maybe I didn't get it quite a full cup there or something. I'm just going to add another 1/4 cup. Well, not even, it's 1/8 cup. There, that's much better. See, this is kind of the consistency that it is. See, I should have probably put the potato in with the celery and the onion. I wasn't thinking at the time. So I actually made my own chicken broth last night because I had that rotisserie chicken, and then I just took it off the bones, and then I cooked it in my Instant Pot and made my own broth. So with that, you just kind of make a soup. So you add like 6 cups of. Well, if you do it in the Instant Pot, you really don't lose any of your liquid. So you can actually use 4 cups of water and then your chicken bones, and then you cook it for about 3 to 4 hours just on a slow cook. So I've got about 1 cup left over. So I'm going to use that for with my chicken pot pies. I'll have enough to use bread. And then it'll just add a little bit more flavor to the chicken pot pie. Like I say, if you have extra left over, then you can put that in your chicken pot pie. Or you can put it in the soup again too, because that's what the soup is for, is to use up all the ingredients that you need to use up that you've bought and you're not going to use in the immediate future. So that's why I do it the way that I do it. Same ingredients for all the recipes. So if you're finished your chicken pot pie, and we just need to let it cool off a little bit. And then we can start putting this stuff together for your soup. And I think the soup, there is 2 cups of chopped chicken. So probably going to have a little bit of chicken left over, which will be great, Lori, if you want to make some more chicken pot pies later. The good thing about those chicken pot pies is you can freeze them without cooking them, or cook them and then freeze them, however you want to do it. I've never actually made them this little before. Like, I made them quite often as a regular 9-inch pie. These look good like for individual servings. There's some people don't eat leftovers. I think, oh man, what a waste. I usually make something different out of it. If I've had leftovers for more than one day, I make a soup out of it or something, so it's something different. I hardly ever waste food.
There's so much waste. I'm like, really? You're just going to throw all that away?
Well,
they waste so much food. And yet they're the ones always complaining about money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's $10 you just threw away this weekend and what your kids didn't eat.
Well, I think you're going to have enough chicken left over to make the rest of your chicken pot pies. So I just put the chicken into the soup. So I just bought the bay leaves yesterday. So I just bought them in bulk and they're a lot cheaper. So you just put them into the soup, and actually you're going to take them out before you actually eat the soup. They're just going to put the flavor back into the soup. There's 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of celery, 1 cup of onion, and 2 garlic cloves. Actually, I forgot to put the garlic cloves in there. I'll do that right now. There we go. And you can always add more garlic too. If you really like garlic in your soup or your other vegetables, you can add lots. It's good to put a little bit of garlic in every meal, because it is good for your immune system and it's good for your digestive system. It helps you to digest your food better. But if you're sick or anything like that, put the extra garlic in because it's antiviral, anti-inflammatory, anti-everything. And I think that's what helped people in the plague when they were doctoring the sick people. They put necklaces of garlic around their neck. And then they were able to ward off the flus and the stuff.
It's going to be like a creamy chicken soup.
Yes.
With 3 cups of milk.
Yep.
You know what? I'm probably not going to add the milk.
That's okay. You don't have to. It was just a way to use up the milk. Like I say, you can make creamy chicken noodle soup or you can make just regular chicken noodle soup if you could use the milk afterwards. There's some people, they don't use the milk afterwards, so then you make the creamy. Or like I say, if you just want to add 1 cup or whatever. If you don't want to add any, that's fine too. So there's my garlic. I didn't get it sauteed. That's what happens sometimes if you forget. So now I'm just going to add the thyme. I think it's 1 teaspoon of thyme. And then 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. All right, now I get the parsley flakes too, because we want to get the flavoring in there. So you 3 to 4 tablespoons of fresh parsley. Finely chopped 1 to 2 tablespoons. So just got my little handy teaspoon out here. So I'm just going to do 3 teaspoons. We'll make 1 tablespoon. And salt and pepper. Lemon juice. So that's just 1 tablespoon. This just gives it a little bit of acidity. There we go. So 3 capfuls are 1 tablespoon. Okay, my vegetables I'm going to put in there too. Oh, well, this looks good too. I'm just going to take this chicken mixture. There. And then I'm just going to I'll see what the 1/4 cup looks like in there. Because it might be too much. Oh, it looks like it's about right. Well, that looks like it's about right. So 1/4 cup works really good in these muffin tins that aren't too large. They're fairly full, but they're not going to run over. So depending on the size of your muffin tins too, that might make a difference as to how much you put in each. Today, with all the ingredients, it makes 8, 9, 10, 11. It makes actually 12. If you've got a little bit too much, then you can kind of play with it and stick some other in another one if it's a little bit bigger. So that's great. Okay. So then we just kind of put this over the top. You're just going to fold the pie crust over top of them so that they're partially covered. It kind of works out so that the center is still exposed, but the rest of it is all covered with the pie crust. So depending on how big your pie crust muffin things were, the pie crust forms, then it should work out okay, and there should be still a little bit exposed. So this is kind of what it looks like here. So actually they look kind of neat because it kind of does cover over and leave the middle open. I'm going to put them in the oven right now. For 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to add the noodles for the soup. Traditional German egg noodles. And then once the noodles are cooked, then I'm going to add that milk. Like I say, it's up to you whether you want to add the milk or not. This is what the soup looks like before I add the milk to it. So I'm adding the milk to it. And like I said, if you use milk on a regular basis and you're not worried about it going bad, then you can choose whether you want to put milk in it or not. If you don't have milk on hand, you can add skim milk powder and then with the proportions that they need and make your 3 cups of milk as well if you want. Oh, yeah, there we go. Perfect. So we're good. Though I've added the 1.5 cups of the milk, and then I can add a little bit of flour. I'm going to add about maybe 4 teaspoons of flour. I'm going to add a little bit of water into this flour, make a set of paste. And then I'm going to add that to the soup. And then that'll give us the creamier soup. Right at the moment, it's kind of runny. So I can show you here. I'm going to add a little bit of this milk to it because it's nice and hot, and then it'll get the, it won't. And then I can add it to the soup. And it will just make it a little bit thicker. But other than that, it looks like pretty good soup. Might want to taste it too, just to see that it's got the right spices in it. If it needs more salt, you might need a little bit more salt since I've added the more milk. So I'm just going to add just another sprinkle of salt. So it's just a little wee bit there. It's probably the equivalent of a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We don't want to add too much because then we got it too salty. But no, that looks good. Looks perfect. Chicken pot pies, they've been in there for 20 minutes. So I'll check them and see how they are. See if they need a little bit more time. The chicken pot pie actually itself was actually cooked. So it's just a matter of cooking the pie crust. So actually, I might leave it in here for another 5 minutes. Okay. So 5 minutes. It's already been 3, so maybe 2 minutes. I wanted to show you too how I do up my cooking recipes, and I put them in a plastic sleeve. So then when I'm cooking, they can be right near, because you see this one, I've got a little bit of water on it, but I can just wipe it off. It doesn't actually get on the recipe. So it works out really good. And so I've got my shopping list there as well, and I just call it Grandma's Country Kitchen. And I've got all my recipes there, so I know what I've cooked and what I've got recorded. So we've made meat stuffed buns. We've made 30-minute hearty cabbage soup, 30-minute dinner rolls. We make them all right now live, and you make them with me in your home. And we've also made homemade egg noodles, vegetable beef noodle soup. Kind of an interesting way to cook together. And then I do the coaching tips at the very end. And I offer that too as a Dream Builder program. It's a 3-month program. But I also offer just a deeper way to go into it. It's called a strategy session. So, yeah. These look pretty darn good. They're not burnt too much. And well, they're not burnt. They just got little crispy things on the side. And they still got actually quite a lot of liquid in them. So, yeah, I'm happy. Happy, happy, happy. So yeah, these ones are the other ones. I think they look pretty darn good. And like I say, they're fairly juicy too. So I'm going to do this recipe again.
My pot pie is filled.
Yep, that looks perfect.
So I added and took out some more frozen vegetables. And so I filled them up with some more chicken and vegetables.
Oh, good. People just don't get the idea that I'm actually doing it live and they're supposed to be cooking in their own kitchens. I think maybe that's where the part of the challenge comes in. They can't figure it out because they probably never seen a cooking show like this before. I've got the one that's called Applied Persistence. I couldn't remember if we had that one before, but this is the one that I picked out this morning before I had all these calamities happen. You ready?
I am.
Okay.
And this is Mary Morrissey. You and I are in the My Morning Mentor series. So today's lesson is a quote that I read once, and it just has always been important to me. The difference between success and failure is applied persistence. Many of us have thought the difference between success and failure is persistence. But the quote that really made the difference for me is applied persistence. What does applied persistence mean? There's a story that Stephen Covey told once, and I think it's in one of his books, where a salesman lands in a city and grabs a map, trying to find his way to a very important meeting, but he doesn't realize that when he grabbed the map, he actually grabbed the wrong map. He's in Detroit, and he grabbed a map of Chicago. And he's rushing to his meeting, he's in the rental car, he's trying to use the map, I'm trying it long before we had GPSs, and he's trying to find his way, and he's looking for the freeway, and he gets, all right, I gotta calm down. I gotta get focused. I need to be persistent. But all the while, he's using the wrong map. Only when he realizes he has the wrong map and he changes the map, can he find his way where he really wants to go. So the difference between persistence, which is just trying harder at what you're already doing, keep doing the same thing over and over again, but with more focus and more persistence, and maybe even a positive attitude. But if I'm doing the wrong thing, persistence doesn't get me there. Applied persistence is when I navigate and look for feedback and adjust. I don't surrender the goal I have. I don't give up because it wasn't as easy as I thought. I don't turn away because there are some problems that seem like they might even seem insurmountable. But if I'm in love with the goal, if I really believe that this is going to be good not only for me, but for my life or others' lives, then I'm not going to back off on the goal. I'm going to learn applied persistence. I'm going to learn from the feedback that's currently speaking to me by the results I'm creating, and self-correct. Turn up the volume on my persistence, but in an applied way where I apply the learning that I'm gaining through what looks like failure, what looks like it's not working. When Edison was asked, how did you survive 10,000 failures? He's with a quizzical look on his face. He said, I never had a failure. It was all feedback. But Edison was persistent in an applied way. He applied the learning and applied the learning and applied the learning. So the difference between your success and my success, your failure and my failure, is persistence that is applied with the learning that we're gaining along the journey. Have a great day.
Okay, so that definitely applied to today's lesson. Can you relate to that?
I can relate to that, to the whole 3 years that I've been doing coaching. And not giving up and just trying what's next. So,
Yeah. That's how I feel too with the, with what I'm doing or whatever. I said, like with the coaching, like I said, it's getting people to come. Like, I think that maybe that's the figuring out different ways, like adjusting things, just different ways to figure out how we can get people to come and participate. Like, it was really good with the Coachapalooza the other day and having that extra training because, to do with the Facebook Live and the Facebook groups and those kind of things. And then she said you didn't have to have a membership site or a website set up right away. You could just do it on your Facebook group and do little blogs or like with the Facebook Live, draw people into your Facebook group. Now, have you tried that, Lori?
I have not set up a Facebook group, or I haven't even really done anything with Facebook Live. So,
Okay. Because they said that works if you did the Facebook Live and then draw them into your Facebook group. And then also
right.
go to other Facebook groups and look to see what they're doing as a group, and with the coaching or whatever, and see if they're doing what they're doing for information, or whatever. So I keep thinking, okay, well, this little video, this morning mentor really applies to this, like you said, with the coaching and not giving up. So